This video is sponsored by Homefree. Today, I've got a question for you. Do you think you can do a half day in a Disney World park and have any success with it? Can it still be a good day? When we went on a cruise with Royal Caribbean, we had one port day in Port Canaveral and we had an awesome time in Epcot. But I'm gonna tell you how to make that day fulfilling with a little bit of planning and a little bit of expectation management. Let's go. Whether you have one of these port days on Royal Caribbean, or if you're sailing on Disney Cruise Line and you have your travel day when you first arrive in Orlando before going to your ship, or maybe you're just in Orlando for a half day for some other reason, like a business trip, and you want to know, can you have a successful half day at Disney and feel really fulfilled with the experience? This is how. We sailed on the Anthem of the Seas, and they don't get into port until about noon at Port Canaveral, which is still a bit of a distance from Orlando. Getting all the way to Orlando and back for an 8 p.m. all aboard time sounds kind of like a bad idea, but we decided to give it a go. This Port Canaveral stop is really exclusive to Royal Caribbean sailings that come from the Northeast, specifically the ones that come from New York, sailing out of Bayonne, New Jersey, or maybe those out of Baltimore. So in New York, you've got Anthem of the Seas, the Oasis, the Odyssey, the Symphony of the Seas, and then down in Baltimore, you've got the Vision of the Seas. The Baltimore sailings do get in a little bit earlier because they don't have to travel as far, but the ones that are coming all the way from New Jersey don't get in till noon. So let's talk about that. This day was not without its hiccups. We opted to take the ship's transportation to the Disney parks, and this bus, for some reason, decided to just park itself for a good 20 minutes at Disney Springs before taking us to the Transportation and Ticket Center. We don't know why, but when you're only in a port and getting to explore it for 4 hours, 20 minutes is a lot to lose. And that was really kind of stressful. So if something like that would just wreck your day, maybe think about choosing a different way to spend this day. Some would argue that that kind of delay is a good reason to get a car rental instead, so that you're going directly where you want to go. But I will say, by being on the ship's transportation, we knew they were going to get us back in time, and if they didn't, the ship would know where we were at and would wait for us. So I wasn't willing to do this day on my own. Plus, since this is a US port, my phone worked, and that was good because we had some planning to do before we arrived. First things first, pick your park. Some parks are so big that they might be overwhelming for your family for a half day if you haven't already experienced a lot of that park before and know what the highlights are for you. Magic Kingdom might be too much. Epcot, check to see if there's a festival going on. If it's a very busy day, it might be kind of overwhelming. Animal Kingdom is an easy kind of half-day park to knock out. Hollywood Studios used to be, but if you want to go somewhere like Hollywood Studios, maybe you decide our emphasis is going to be Galaxy's Edge. This is just a Galaxy's Edge day, or this is just a Toy Story Land day, and you don't try to hit the entire park. Then figure out what your priorities are within that park. Ask each person in your party what is their must-do, and pray that some of those things overlap, because you probably don't have time to do something for each person. But pick your one or two things. On our day, we managed to get about 4 or 5 rides in per person and a meal. But honestly, if it's a busy day, you may only get 2 rides in. But the trick to making it happen is getting that Wi-Fi on board the ship and plan with Genie Plus. At the time of our sailing, and this is still true at the time of this recording, on Royal Caribbean, you pay for Wi-Fi for a 24-hour window. So since we were arriving at noon, we got our Wi-Fi starting at about noon the day before. That way we could fiddle around with the app, get really comfortable with it, and when it was time to get that Genie Plus and start booking at 7 a.m. the next day, we weren't trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. You do have to pay an additional fee for it, and that fee can be different depending on the park and the day. But we use it to plan in advance, so we have our entire afternoon laid out for us. You may think this is not a good deal because you're only getting half a day of use, but at the moment, there's a trick called stacking your Genie Plus. Wait, hold up. What is Genie Plus and how do you stack it? So Genie Plus is the reservation system at Disney where you can book your rides, and instead of standing in the long line, you skip to not no line, but a shorter line. It's called the Lightning Lane. and you will skip around and stand in line for a relatively short amount of time to get on some of the top rides. Not every ride at Disney has a lightning lane, but maybe before you decide which park you're going to, check to see which rides are available through Genie Plus, and then decide if you want to book it. Maybe if you went a few years ago, you remember the Fast Pass reservation system. It's kind of like that, but you do pay for it, and there are a few tweaks to it, one of which is stacking. You could not stack your Fast Pass, but you can stack your Genie Plus. So when you wake up at 7 a.m., you are able to book your Genie Plus for the day and start booking rides. You can book one ride at a time, and then you can book the next ride either once you've used that pass or 2 hours later, whichever comes first. So since we are on the ship until noon, we will book a ride at 7 a.m. and then we'll wait 2 hours and we'll book another ride, and we'll wait 2 hours and book another ride. And we will show up at Disney with a stack of rides with times that we know exactly where we're going, getting in a nice short line, and then moving on to the next one. Do the best you can to make this geographically in order so you're not ping-ponging across the park. But at the end of the day, we kind of concentrated to World Showcase in the beginning in the back of the park where all of the different international pavilions are, and then we made our way back to the front of the park to see some of those futuristic and nature experiences in the land. Back in the day, when you had a Fast Pass, your Fast Passes couldn't overlap times. Your Genie Pluses can overlap. Just because you have a Genie Plus with a window of 2:10 to 3:10 doesn't mean you can't book anything else until after 3:10. You could book a 2:30 ride that is available until 3:30. As long as you can hustle from one to the next, they can overlap times. Just don't miss your window. Genie Plus is changing all the time, and they are talking about in 2024 making it pre-bookable. That's not true yet, and when that's true, it will probably change some of those stacking practices. And so be sure to keep an eye on that. I would check out something like Disney Food Blog or Mammoth Club. They're constantly posting new updates as to whatever is happening on Genie Plus. We just want to take a minute and thank our friends at Homefree who are sponsoring today's video. When we were at Disney World and we saw Homefree cookies, we were so excited because we know that they totally fit our gluten-free, dairy-free diet. They are free of all of these allergens and totally safe because they're made in a dedicated facility, so we can even take them to our nut-free school. While I have purchased them at retail locations, you can also find them at places like AMC Theaters, where they have a new partnership, and we were able to get a box just like this on our most recent family movie night so that the kids had treats while we watched the show. And we're seeing them more and more at camps and schools through wholesale partnerships. I'm definitely going to make sure my kids' camps know about these. But with school coming up, we're getting the lunch boxes out and getting ready to go back to school with safe snacks. So I'm going to use the Amazon link, which I'm going to put just below the video here, to get some individual packs of an assortment of their flavors for my kids to take to school. My kids have tried a number of flavors, from the classic chocolate chip to mint chocolate and lemon burst. Every last one has been delicious, and the ingredients are so wholesome. You can feel good about your kids eating them. So please check them out using the link down below, and we want to send a big thank you to Homefree for partnering with us today. Now, what worked best for us with our 3 kids, who at the time were ages 8, 4, and 2, was to divide and conquer. We knew that Nora was the perfect age for Frozen Ever After. We headed straight to the Norway Pavilion with our Genie Plus for Frozen Ever After. Of course, the ride shut down while we were in line, but only for about 10 minutes, so it didn't put a damper on our day. If it would, rethink this day. And just because you have Genie Plus doesn't mean you can't also ride some rides in the walk-on line. So as we passed Mexico and we saw, of course, Three Caballeros had no line because they never have a line. And so we go straight in on the Mexico ride. And then we wanted to use our Genie Plus, and we headed back into the main part of the park for the kids, the big kids, to go on Soarin', and I took Axon on the Nemo ride. But they were close to each other, so we could knock out 2 things at once. It is a little tricky to split your party with Genie Plus. It's just going to take a little extra forethought, but know that you can do that. And then we all rode Spaceship Earth because it's not a trip to Epcot without Spaceship Earth. We didn't do any rides with virtual queues because you don't really know when your virtual queue is going to be called, and it could be called before you were even inside the park. Another way we made the most of our time that day was to use mobile order for our meals. Now, if you follow us for any length of time, you know that we're about traveling with kids with dietary restrictions. Our family is gluten and dairy free, but with Disney's mobile order, you can identify a lot of the dietary restrictions, the special menus that they have, and you can mark things gluten-free. Usually for 2 sensitivities like that, we would go speak to a chef, but we do know the menu at Regal Eagle and what was gonna work for us, and so we felt comfortable ordering gluten-free. The pulled jackfruit barbecue veggie burgers are so good, plant-based, and got them on gluten-free buns. And this was the first time that our family got to experience home-free cookies. These were the dessert that came with our meal, and they were a real treat. So now we keep our eyes peeled anytime we're in Disney parks to see if we can find more home-free. For us, going to Epcot is often about eating some of those foods in World Showcase. So by eating at Regal Eagle, we kind of got to check that box, but by using mobile order, we did it quickly. And make sure you have your payment method preloaded in the app to make it even faster. Some of those meal booking windows book up very early in the day. So go ahead and place your order in the morning for a time that you are wanting your lunch to be at. Snag that time early in the morning while you're still on the ship. In the end, we managed 4 rides in 4 hours and got ourselves back to Transportation and Ticket Center to catch our bus, which is a little bit of a hike. So be prepared. You actually have to kind of close up shop for the day and get out of Dodge. It feels a little early. It really does feel rushed. If you can show up in the park with a list of exactly what you're going to do and pass all those lines to go in those lightning lanes, you're golden. Now, if you think that the cost of this day is going to stress you out, that you're constantly thinking, we have to fit in more magic or it's not going to be worth the money, maybe you should manage expectations, downgrade the intensity of the day, and just go to Disney Springs, where you will get to experience lots of Disney atmosphere, lots of pixie dust still in the air over there, and have some great meals. Maybe go to the World of Disney store, which is the biggest Disney store, or the Lego store, or some of the other fun experiences, and get that Disney fix without park admission. Now, who is this day good for? Probably not Disney first-timers. I'll just say it. If you want to have the full Disney experience, and you really should on your first visit to Disney, a half day is just not enough. You're going to feel so overwhelmed. You're going to have a lot of sensory overload. Take it easy and really get to soak up your first time at Disney. My first time at Disney when I was a kid, my only visit as a child, was just 1 day in Magic Kingdom. You can do 1 day in one park, but at least make it a full day. At least stay till fireworks. This 4-hour window is probably not going to be the experience you're looking for. But if you're one of those families that goes to Disney every year, and this year you decided to skip your Disney trip and go on this Royal Caribbean cruise instead, I have good news for you. You can get a little bit of your Disney fix. But the big question a lot of folks ask is it worth it? And this is a question that I don't like to answer on this channel. Here's the reason why. If you have been to Disney before, you now know how special is this to you, or how much are you, it's fine, I don't have to do it. You've got a different gauge of what's valuable and what's not. You also have a different gauge of what your budget looks like versus another family's. Maybe you have additional circumstances, like you have an annual pass, or like our family, you have a cast member pass. If that's the case, then by all means, the ship transportation to get to Disney was so economical. We caught it when Royal was doing a sale on the shore excursions, and we managed to get it, I think, for about $40 for our family of 5. The kids were basically free. If you have passes, it's a no-brainer. If you're doing Disney Springs, it's pretty much a no-brainer. If you think you would rather just go spend a day at the beach, or some families will go to NASA or things like that, that's also a cool experience. But we knew we could not go to Florida and not go to Disney. If that's you, I hope that these tips will help you make this day a true success. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. And thank you so much to our sponsors at Homefree. We truly appreciate your support of the channel. If you want to give us a like, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel, we can give you more tips for anytime you're going to Disney or on a cruise or anywhere else you travel, especially with dietary restrictions. We'll see you next time, travelers. Bye.